Joseph Gonzalez, special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, in Puerto Rico, recently spoke in the Torres Delgado Entrevista podcast about how he begins and develops a corruption investigation that has been nailing down corrupt politicians for years. Joseph Gonzalez, born in New York, to Puerto Rican parents, has been running the FBI office in San Juan for 10 months. He had previously worked on the island as a private agent. Gonzalez explained that the investigations can begin with complaints or routine examinations by federal agencies. For example, examining the spending patterns in political campaigns. Once there is a complaint, and the preliminary investigation reveals that there is evidence to continue making inquiries, the higher levels of the Department of Justice in Washington are consulted, depending on the level of the official under investigation. Gonzalez indicated that this is done so that there are checks and balances that prevent the political ideas of an official from influencing the investigation. The FBI and the Justice Department have been on a mission, arresting elected officials in Puerto Rico. In the last 6 months, they've charged 6 of the island's 78 mayors for public corruption, and more are believed to be under investigation. It's a ballooning scandal that is endangering the public trust in a government that's been steadily losing the confidence of many of its citizens. In December 2021, the mayor of Guaynabo, a wealthy San Juan suburb, was arrested on corruption charges. They released a photo in which you can see the mayor accepting an envelope allegedly filled with money from a contractor paying him a bribe. This scandal is creeping close to the island's governor, Pedro Pierluisi. A friend of his pled guilty to hiding the origin of $500,000 that he raised to help Pierluisi win the governorship last year. Representative Nestor Alfonso Vargas was found guilty last week on corruption charges. A former associate testified that he gave kickbacks to the politician for an inflated salary position. The mayors of Humacao, Reinaldo Vargas Rodriguez, and the mayor of Aguas Buenas, Javier Garcia Perez, were arrested in May of this year by the Federal Bureau of Investigation after a federal grand jury indicted them for bribery, kickbacks, and extortion. Julia Kelleher, who was the secretary of the island's Department of Education before stepping down, and Angela Avilia-Morreno, who led Puerto Rico's Health Insurance Administration, were arrested by FBI agents in 2019 for directing some $15.5 million in contracts to favored businesses, edging out other firms for the lucrative government work, despite allegations of the businesses being unqualified. In 2021, the FBI arrested Felix Delgado, the mayor of the town of Catano, on corruption charges. He pled guilty to accepting bribes in exchange for millions in municipal contracts. In 2019, the federal authorities arrested Senator Abel Nazario Quiñones and 7 other people, accusing them of theft or bribery during Mr. Nazario's time as mayor of the town of Yabuco. It was Mr. Nazario's second corruption-related arrest in 14 months. March 21, 2020, he was found guilty on 28 of the 31 charges against him. In 2021 he was sentenced to 18 months in prison.
Sunday, June 12, the authorities have identified the 19-year-old girl who died in a drive-by shooting in Barconloneta, Puerto Rico. Lieutenant Colonel Roberto Rivera, commander of the Auxiliary Superintendents of Criminal Investigations, stated the evidence indicates she was shot by another woman. The events were reported at around 7 p.m. in the El Horno sector, near a supermarket in Barconloneta. The victim was identified as Janey Marie Santiago Gomez, 19 years old. Lieutenant Colonel Rivera indicated that the victim's mother said that Miss Santiago Gomez was pregnant, but they will wait for the Institute of Forensic Sciences to confirm it. According to Rivera, Santiago Gomez was the mother of a 2-year-old boy and a 1-year-old baby. The motive for the attack has not been established. Judge Cynthia Izzicary, of the Arecibo Court, determined cause for arrest, and set a bail of $700,000. Molina Rodriguez faces charges of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and violations of the weapons law, for the possession and carrying of a firearm, without a license, as well as pointing and firing a weapon from a motor vehicle. The victim was traveling as a passenger, with her mother and partner, in a Toyota Corolla vehicle when she was shot and killed.
June 14, almost a month after the murder of Margarita Rodriguez Morales, the retired educator who died in the middle of a shootout in Caguas, Puerto Rico, the investigation of the case took a new turn after agents from the Stolen Vehicles Bureau arrested 2 members of the Los Vargas criminal organization. Captain Carlos Alicia Contreras stated, "Los Vargas is nothing more than a criminal gang that is at war with the organization led by Nelson Torres Delgado, alias El Burro. Both sides," the official said, "are in conflict over control of the megapoint that operates in the Morales neighborhood in that town. The information that we have and that we are corroborating day by day is that on May 15, when Margarita Rodriguez was killed, this organization called Los Vargas was trying to take control of the Morales neighborhood, which is run by El Burro," detailed the captain in a telephone interview. Given this situation, this exchange of shots arose that ended the life of Mrs. Margarita, he added. With that in mind, he said, the arrests of Anthony Davila Menendez, 23, and Luis Yadier Morales Nunez, 19, could represent a new opportunity to collect evidence that leads authorities to solve the murder.
June 13, a 45-year-old man died after being shot Monday afternoon in front of a grocery store in Yabuco, Puerto Rico, reported a police spokesperson. According to the report of events that occurred at around 4:35 p.m., Eugenio Delgado Pinto, 45, died as a result of multiple gunshots, while a 21-year-old suffered bullet wounds. The victims were at the grocery, located on PR 900, kilometer 9.7, when an unidentified person shot them multiple times. The body of Delgado Pinto, who is a resident of Yabuco, had multiple bullet wounds. The 21-year-old was treated by paramedics at the scene and transported by ambulance to an area hospital. His condition was described as stable. The police have no suspects at this time.
Monday, June 13, the authorities found a burned body in the trunk of a car in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. In a brief preliminary report, the police indicated that they were alerted, through an anonymous call, about a burning vehicle in the area. According to the information provided, upon arrival in the area, they found a Mitsubishi Mirage car under a bridge on Martinez Street, in the Abra San Francisco neighborhood, and in its trunk, the body of the person who has not yet been identified. Agents assigned to the Homicide Division of the Criminal Investigation Corps of Arecibo are investigating the events.
June 13, a driver, who allegedly ran over a pedestrian in Rio Grande, Puerto Rico, Monday, continued to drive away with part of the dismembered body on his vehicle, and was arrested by agents of the police bureau. The assistant director of the Transit Bureau, Elvis Zeno, explained that due to the impact, the pedestrian fell into the dash of the car. The driver continued driving to his residence, presumably without realizing what had happened. The driver was identified by the police as Julio Jimenez Rosario, 28 years old. He had arrived at his residence in Rio Grande and parked. It was the man's mother who noticed that there was a dismembered body in the car. Lieutenant Zeno indicated that the torso was in part of the passenger seat, and the legs were left at the scene. The driver had 0.19% alcohol in his system, more than double the limit of 0.08% established in the Puerto Rico vehicle and traffic law. The victim has been identified as Pedro Vasquez Rupert.
Monday, June 13, the star witness in the case for the murder of boxer Hector Macho Camacho, William Ojeda Ramos, left Puerto Rico without notice and failed to appear in court. Presently, he is in the custody of the authorities in Florida. Last Friday, a Bayamon court judge dismissed the case against the 5 accused of the murder, based on the fact that the prosecutor's office was not prepared, due to the failure of the witness to appear in court, on June 8. That same day, the public ministry requested the intervention of the Florida authorities to order his compulsory appearance. The ruling comes 3 months after Puerto Rico's Justice Department announced the accusations against the 5 suspects, with great fanfare, since it marked the first time anyone was charged in nearly a decade since the killing. Camacho, 50, was shot in the face in November 2012, while he and a friend sat in a Ford Mustang outside a bar. He was clinically brain dead, but remained on life support for 4 days as relatives decided to remove his ventilator. Hector Macho Camacho was a Puerto Rican professional boxer and entertainer. Known for his quickness in the ring and flamboyant style, Camacho competed professionally from 1980 to 2010, and was a world champion in 3 weight classes: super featherweight, lightweight and junior welterweight.
Tuesday, June 14th, in the Federal Court of San Juan, Puerto Rico, Judge Francisco Bisasa established a deadline for Mario Villegas Vargas, partner of the JR Asphalt Company, to inform the court if he will plead guilty to bribery and corruption charges. After a private conference in front of the judge, by the prosecution and defense attorneys, Judge Bisasa scheduled the next status hearing for July 14th. The former mayor of Catano, Felix Delgado, pled guilty to having received bribes from the company, Waste Collection, entering into a contract days after the onslaught of Hurricane Maria, and receiving $48,000. Oscar Santamaria, who was president of Waste Collection, pled guilty to corruption offenses in relation to the case, and the vice president of JR Asphalt, Mario Villegas Vargas, is accused of having paid him over $105,000 in cash and giving him expensive watches, valued at $200,000.
Wednesday, June 15th, after confirming an increase in river flows, the Aqueduct and Sewer Authority suspended the rationing of drinking water for the El Yunque and Juncos Urbano filter plants, which supply service to Rio Grande, Juncos, and Las Piedras, respectively. The rains that fell early Wednesday morning increased the flows of the rivers that supply the 3 towns. The drought has been affecting several municipalities, resulting in water rationing and restrictions.
Ceiba Puerto Rico is on track to have an airport that will launch flights into space. The certification process, with the Federal Aviation Agency, has already begun, and the Ports Authority estimates that it will take 24 to 30 months to obtain it. My dream is for the Ceiba Airport to become the spearhead of Puerto Rico's space ecosystem, said Joel Pisa, Executive Director of the Ports Authority, as he outlined the steps the agency is taking to achieve this.
New York City, June 12th, the National Puerto Rican Day Parade was held in New York City this past weekend. Multitudes came out to celebrate Puerto Rican pride.
Thanks for watching. Here's your weather for the week. Follow us on Facebook to get up-to-date news, weather, business news, entertainment, tourism, viral videos and more. Search Puerto Rico English News. Or follow the link in the description. Thanks for subscribing. Have an amazing week.